Me and Hannah met in China. I do Chinese medicine and I was studying there. And Hannah's a yoga teacher. I've been working in Brighton before and I was working as a therapist for quite a few years. When I started practicing, if I had to go and see myself, I couldn't afford to go and see myself. And same for yoga teachers if they work in different studios.
Yeah, not only just working, but just before I became a yoga teacher, just as a practitioner, I left primary school teaching full-time with stress and wanted to take up as much yoga as possible, but it's not affordable or feasible to do it as regularly as one might need and get the full benefits from.
But also to make sure that therapists and teachers go home with good money. Teachers, for example, in one of the big gyms in Brighton, they can teach an hour to 30 people and they go home with £17. We want to make sure that it's affordable for everyone, that people, the teachers and the therapists go home with enough money. Therefore, we call it about balance, because it's about balance. I think that what makes Brighton special really, and this is kind of like, the fact that I was just looking for a place to maybe do not something as big as what the studio ended up being, but just maybe like a local acupuncture clinic. Then one of my patients said, hey, all the loca is available, and then came to meet Fiona, who runs V-Bites, and she was very supportive, which is again a Brighton thing. I think she was like, yeah, fantastic, why not? What do you need? How can I help?
This time last year, we just went for a wander through the Fringe, and there was a stall offering information about the
government funding.
So yeah, again, just the outdoor atmosphere of Brighton with lots of people just getting out there and talking about themselves and their companies.
Talk to people and don't be afraid to ask for help. Don't be afraid to kind of, I think there's a very British thing of kind of like, oh, maybe we don't want to talk about money, or maybe we don't kind of like, but do ask people how much, kind of like, so you know where you are, what kind of investment do you need, how did you get about this, what do you do about that, and pretty much half of our therapists came kind of like from word of mouth, just like from other people recommending them.
And now we're up and running as well. Keep just getting the people that you're working with to do, not getting them, but asking them to do things, and not being afraid to ask them to do things, because pretty much 90% of the time they'll say, yeah, I can do that for you and help you out. So it actually takes the pressure off.
We found so many amazing women to work with. And sometimes I think kind of like starting business, being a woman, it does feel a little bit like people kind of like, I have talked to one accountant and it was a little bit like, darling, don't you worry, your pretty little head, kind of like, and I was a bit like, don't you talk to me like that in my head. But actually, except that one experience, we've been working with a lot of women, and there's a lot of independent women in Brighton running amazing businesses, which is very inspiring.
Doing it well.
Doing good business.
Subscribe to our YouTube channel for all the latest news and advice for freelancers, contractors and small businesses.